Hello everybody, today I'm gonna show you how to refactor a Blazor web application. So it's C# and .NET, and I'm gonna show how to remove the repository pattern and go more towards vertical slice architecture rather than a clean architecture that I have at the moment in this web app. So I will show you how to do that. So this is just a simple to-do app that I have set up. So if we start it, I can just show what it looks like. So it's very basic. So we have to-dos here. We can add to-do items to a list. So go shopping, and we can edit here. It gets saved. So this is with the Blazor server. We can mark it as done. We can delete things, add new things. Oh, there are a little bit things like that. And we will look at the architecture now in the web app. Here we have the program.cs. So now I'm just using a SQLite database. And as I said, it's Blazor, and we have some layout here. We will not touch this really. Error and everything, it lives in the home page. So this is where we will be modifying things. So we have the HTML code up here, and it lists to-do items, and then we have some methods here. And if we scroll down here, so we have a DB context with one entity. So that's the to-do item. And the to-do item lives here in models. So yeah, quite simple. And then we have some for models. These are used in the home page. So if you follow the reference here, we can see here. So that's when editing and showing things in the UI, we're using these two models. And then, as I said, I'm following the repository pattern. I don't know if there's like an official way, but we have a to-do repository. It's an interface here. We have different methods, and then the to-do repository that implements that interface. And as we can see, it's entity framework. We have a DB context, and we get items. We get one individual one. We can add. Yeah, it's adding it to the DB context and saves and update and delete. So those classical CRUD operations. So that was the repository, and then we also have a service for to-do items. It looks quite similar. And then to-do service, it depends on the to-do repository. And in many cases, it calls the repository. And yeah, so that's basically doing the same things. And if we go to the home page again, so the idea is that this depends on the to-do service instead of the repository. So we have the UI, it calls the service, and the service calls the repository. So it's like those three layers. But as you saw, we also have the interfaces. So like one immediate problem that we see, we have the service, and we want to see what happens in a method here. For instance, get to do items async. So we control click here, and we arrive in the interface. We're still wondering what is this method doing. So we check here, and here we can find who implements it. But then we end up in the service, and it's no logic here. It's just like some sort of pipeline that shovels the request one layer down. Okay, so we follow this, get all async. Okay, we are in some interface again, and we need to find out what does this actually do. So we click here, and here we have the to-do repository that actually implements it. So you have these extra layers. You cannot that easily just control click and arrive immediately where this happens. And also logic is a bit spread out. So, okay, what was a to-do item? We need to open a separate file, and yeah, we were here, and we need to go back to the home page and what was happening here. Yeah, it's a bit everywhere. And this with the clean architecture, and then it's more organized around the technical things. So here we had the UI, and we have data with for models and repositories and services. So you have these technical directories. But then as you often see in bigger projects, and then this services directory, and then it just balloons with all kinds of services that have nothing to do with each other. But since they are services, they're put together in services. And the same with repositories. Since it's a repository, it goes into the repository directory. even though it's like completely different repositories that have nothing in common other than being a repository. So with the vertical slice architecture, then you're more organized around like the feature, what kind of feature is this, and then put these different classes and files together and that belong together. So we will refactor this a bit according to that principle. So if we go back here to the components directory, so we have pages here. Now it's the home page, but maybe we can just for sake of clarity, maybe we can rename it to something. To-do, it can be called. But let's put it in a subdirectory so we can keep all our to-do items together. So here we move it here. And maybe it should be index then in that case maybe. So it's for, let's say that there was some to-do section on the website, and this is the index page there. So now we have a directory here, and then we can start to put things in there. So like these services files and the repository files, we can just move them up here. We put them inside here. To do, yes, we can adjust the namespaces. So now we have all of them in here. Same with these 4 models, so they are only used by this to do index page. So we move them as well. We don't need to have some general models directory with all kinds of models that have nothing in common. So if they are like being reused by a lot of different pages or so, yeah, sure, have something shared, but this is not shared at the moment. So yeah, we put them where they belong together. So delete that, or yeah, move that, and then we delete the directory. We delete this directory, delete this directory. And the same with like services. Yeah, if we had some common service, maybe for authentication or logging or something that is reused by a lot of places, yeah, sure, make a reusable service out of that, but don't do it out of habit. Okay, so now we're starting to get things that belong together in the same place. To do, we have here a lot of things. Let's see what else we have. So the model, so that goes into the DB context. So this I'm not completely sure about, like if we actually want to move, maybe we want to keep it, since that is more like the, it depends on how you see it, but it's more like a foundation layer. Maybe that goes into the database, but in some sense you could move that as well. But since this is all in one project, often in .NET you see people splitting it up in different projects. So like you have a data project, it's quite common. And then the model would need to live in that data project together with the DB context. So then like you're forced to put all models inside the same project. So yeah, that's the structure you often see in .NET. But in this instance, since we are only using one project, then we can move them and put them together. So we don't have any problem with the references or so. So let's move this to-do item and put it inside this to-do directory. So now we have everything related to to-dos in one directory. We can scroll down here. It's just program and then the DB context. And yeah, we can delete this one as well. We don't need that anymore. And so now when you come in as a developer and you want to develop something related to to-dos with this to-do page, now you have everything together in one directory. So when you're working on something else, you can just close this, and yeah, you don't have to see it. But yeah, once when you develop something, yeah, you go in here and you have everything in together. So that's the vertical slice architecture mindset. Put things that belong together in the same place. It can be in multiple files or in one file, or yeah, you decide yourself. And then we have this like problem. We have interfaces and the repository and all that. But just let's start with removing interfaces, since these interfaces, they are just being inherited once. So like, why does this provide any value? When we add in new methods, maybe we want to do something more, like we want to have some task update, or just adding something for fun. Okay, so now we wrote it here, and then we need to go into the repository here that actually implements it, and then do the same thing here as well. We write public, and then here, and then we return something like that. Okay, so And then when we want to do some change, then we need to do it in 2 places. So now we want to have a new parameter. Okay, now we suddenly need to add it here as well. So it's you're just like typing the same thing twice. It says the same thing here in both places, and you just need to keep them in sync. So when I change it to something, and then I need to remember here for like consistency to it not look confusing. Okay, I need to write it here as well. You can like have doc strings. Okay, we have some here to like tell some information about this update method. But maybe it's nice then to have like this inherit doc here to not like repeat ourselves. But yeah, you're just basically just keeping 2 places in sync, so it's a bit useless. So if you don't like need to actually use the interface, just delete them in that case. So let's go and do that. We have this repository interface, and then also for the service we have that we can delete. And if we go into the service, now we don't implement that anymore, so we delete that. Here we depend on the concrete class here instead. Same here with repository, we don't depend on that anymore. And then we can go into program.cs, and it's the same thing here, that we are writing the same thing twice. That's unnecessary. So thanks to deleting the interface, we don't have to do that anymore. How people are using interfaces like this, just typing the same thing twice. You have the method declaration in one file and the method implementation in another file. It's like people are programming C or C++ with the header files and then CPP file where you have the actual implementation. But you don't need to do that in C#, so I don't know why people keep doing interfaces for everything. Okay, so now we have simplified it a bit. So if we go back to our home page, here we also need to change. So we're using that directly. And now when we like wonder what is this get to do items async doing, then we can control click. We arrive immediately here in the service. We can see, okay, the service is calling the repository and follow here. Okay, this is what it's doing. So immediately it goes much faster to develop. You can more easily navigate between the files. Let's see if it still runs. We press start here. And in this project, we're using this with the global import. So here we need to like adjust this. So maybe we can, for nicety, add that new directory that we have added. So it's in pages and then in the to-do. Delete these 2 old ones and let's see if it runs. Okay, so here we have the application. The stuff we did before is saved into the SQLite database, and yeah, it's still running and working. So let's go back to see what we can refactor. So if we go back here to the to-do folder, so now we have less files. We deleted 2 of the interfaces. And one problem that I mentioned, it's with this service. For a lot of things, it doesn't do anything. It just passes the method call down 1 layer. So this is just some middleman that just passes things further 1 level in many cases. Sometimes it does a few things like normalize title here. But what often ends up happening is that you have the repository and you think, yeah, this will just be about the data, and here in the service it will be in the business logic. But I think often it just blends together. Like already here, it's a very simple app, but here in the repository, here we set to-do item and created that. So like, is that business logic that it's setting the date, or is this something else? And like we have if statements, is this business logic or not? That it's checking something if it exists. So I think it just like starts to become like a question about definition. What is business logic? What should be in the service layer, and what is like just data and should be in the repository layer? And yeah, I don't think it makes much sense, and I don't know this about testability if it really helps anything. So what I prefer is to just move everything up here, especially in these sort of methods. They're just passing the command further. So like, why not? Why even have this extra layer? So let's do that, and it's quite easy. We just take here and we put it inside this method. So then we need to use block body for that, and then like this. And now we only had the repository here, so we need to change, so we have the DB context instead. And then we add some using. We need some more using here. And let's see if it works. We need async as well. So yeah, now we have moved one of them over, and we can delete that. And then we do the same with this one. So that's get ID async, and we put it here. Let's make it block body. There, delete. And we needed async on it as well. So then we can delete it. And what we have here, add async. That is something this one calls, but we can start with just moving it over here. And that's also something you can do if you want to have this separation with this is more data related, and here we have the so-called business logic, but put them in the same file. They can just be under each other like this. Why spread them out over different files? So yeah, we can make it a bit easier for ourselves and just do that for the remaining ones. Here was something with update, then we can delete this with repository, and then go back here, and then we have delete. And here, this was also one of those useless that just passes it further, so we can do it like that, and then add a sync there. And then we had, let's delete this one. That was just for showing something. So now we have moved everything over to the to-do service, and we don't need a repository anymore here. And this file, we can completely delete that one. Let's see in the program.cs. And here we add in that file to the dependency injection, but since we don't have it anymore, we can delete that. So let's save, and then we can run and see if it still works. Yay, so it's still working, nothing wrong here. And then if we check out our to-do folder, so now it's even less things. So if we go back to the index page, and we had here, we get to-do items async. Okay, we're wondering what is this doing. Control and click. Yay, we can immediately see what's going on here. So I think now we're on a quite good state. We have, this is not too long, this file, and we have this index page. It's also not like absurdly long or anything. But then like if we wanted, we could put things together even more. So like this item, it's only used in the index page. And the same with this model. So we could move it over here. We can put it in the end. So if we indent it a little bit, and then we go to the edit model, we can put it here as well. So now we have them together, and here it seems like we're missing some using. So now we have them here, and they are only used in this file, so we can make them private instead. They don't need to be public. And now we can delete those files. Even more now we have put things together. So if some developer wants to work on the to-do items and this to-do list page, yeah, and it's just open this index page, and you have most of the stuff together. And yeah, so some things are here in the service. And also when you don't have all these abstraction layers, some things are being used by some service that, yeah, whatever. Like now we can see here in the service, this method doesn't even have any references. But when this logic was inside the repository, it was being used by the service, but nothing used that service method. But it gets a little bit more difficult when you spread everything out in multiple places, and then you don't really see it as easily, like what is actually being used. So that's also an advantage of putting things together. Like these references are easier to see. Yeah, since you have less abstraction layers with interfaces and all that stuff, you more clearly see when something is not used. So like this one we can delete. We don't need that one. So now we have the to-do service, and we have the index page here, And if we want to go one step further, we can move all this logic into the index page, so we don't need to like separate it by service and like the visual part here. Since like here we already have a lot of like kind of business logic, like what is the difference here between this kind of stuff and here? But it depends a little bit on what kind of application are you building. So this to-do service, is it something you intend to like reuse in a lot of different places? Is this the whole like to-do application and you're gonna do so much with to-dos everywhere? Yeah, then maybe it makes sense to have some service with reusable methods. But yeah, then you also need to look at like how often are you using these things. If it's like one reference, like just put it inside the index page in this instance, then you don't need to have it in a separate file. So if you're going to do that refactoring, so then we would just take all methods and then go back to the index page, and we can put them here. So now we have them all here, and this injection, we need to do that here instead. So we do inject and paste that, and then we should have a capital D in there instead. We need these two usings, so we do that. So now we have our code we have pasted in here, as we can see. So we just need to change capital letter, and they don't need to be public anymore, so we can make them private. So we make this private as well. This can be private. Change the capitalization here, and we do private on that one. We do private on that one. Change there. Can change this one, private. So then we have changed all of those, and this to-do service we don't have anymore, so delete that, and we can delete the whole file, so then that is gone. And when we do to-do service like this, then we don't need to do that anymore, so we can delete there and delete there and delete there. One more. So now we are kind of done with that. And yeah, then you can decide yourself, do you want to have this separate method? Maybe it makes sense. It's quite clear now. Here we're doing some data related thing. We have it here, and like one downside though with Visual Studio is that it doesn't seem to like show references inside Razor components. But if we go here, go find all references, so I think that's a quite bad part with Visual Studio, but otherwise you can search for that method. But now we have everything together, and I also think that is good for if you do like AI assisted development with an AI agent. It's much easier for it with the context. Now it does just one file to look at and do most things inside, so it doesn't need to go around and search in different folders that have completely unrelated things. Since the AI can be more efficient if with a smaller context. So if you think a little bit vertical slice architecture, then you automatically get this with a smaller context. So now we only have the index page here, and we have the to-do item. So yeah, maybe it can stay separately. We don't need to put them in the same file. But now it's even easier. So yeah, you have if you want to work on this functionality on this page, you have this file only. So for instance, if you like look at save to-do item, maybe we follow this, and here now we put this update thing, but we could like put it closer to each other. So this is also something to like think about, how close they are in the same file. Previously this was spread out over multiple files, but now when we come to save here, and then we read run here, okay, so update, and just on the same page here we can see all of this. You don't even need to scroll to be able to understand what's happening. Otherwise, with this clean architecture, you have things that are related spread out in different files, and it becomes more difficult to understand, since you need to keep everything in your head. Okay, this service calling these two repositories, and and they have these different models, and they are spread out everywhere. So I think this is quite nice, and yeah, you could work on making it more compact, like in this, for instance. And yeah, there are different improvements you can do, but let's see if it still runs. I think it should. Oh no, it did not. Yeah, it's in the program .cs, so we don't need to add this service anymore. We can delete that line as well. So let's see. Yay, now it's working again, or still. And let's see, just try to add something. Yes, delete. Okay, we have some bug. I guess this bug was present before. I don't know. I don't think we have done anything related to this. Anyways, I think that was what I wanted to show regarding vertical slice architecture. So yeah, as I said, it's more organized around features. We have our to-do feature and what that feature contains. It is together in the same folder, and we don't need all those like technical folders that yeah, just organized by their technical properties. And why I like vertical slice architecture, I think it reduces boilerplate and it becomes more easy to understand the logic. And since you put it together, both for a human, it's easier to read and understand. You can have more things on the same page that you have open. But also for AI, I think it should be better since it reduces the context. You can just like ask it something and point it at this page, and yeah, it has everything in one place. So that's why I like vertical slice architecture, and also why I dislike this with the repository and service layers. You don't need to have like a repository layer. I think that's the most like useless, and also with interfaces, remove that if you don't need it. I'm not like principally against interfaces. Use them when it makes sense, but I think in most cases people are just adding interfaces to everything out of a habit, and yeah, you can just stop doing that, and your program will still work. Except for this Stack Overflow that I embarrassingly got, but I think it was probably there before. But that was everything I wanted to show today. I hope you have a great day, and we will see each other another time. Bye bye!